DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get to use those personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including you, especially you, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one daily masterclass. It is the masterclass that is called, the only masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is where to spend your time when you are in sales. Now, if you've listened to enough episodes of this show, and enough would be like maybe 3 episodes of this show. I don't think 3 episodes of this show go by without me reminding you, yes you, that you are in sales. All right, if you are doesn't matter what you do for a living, you're in sales. If you're trying to get a job at the gas station, you're in sales because you're selling yourself as the employee to be hired. If you're trying to find a mate or a partner, you're trying to go on a date, you're selling yourself as a person that someone else should spend some intimate time with. If you have a podcast, if you make YouTube videos, if you post TikTok videos, you are selling yourself to the audience of people who are on those applications to give some of their time and attention to watching what you're doing. If you're posting on a bulletin board, you're selling whatever you're posting, you're selling people on reading it and actually doing whatever the call to action is on that bulletin board. Everything that you do in life, you must make a sale. Everything you do when you're interacting with other people, you have to sell them on either paying attention to you or doing whatever it is you want them to do. Even with yourself, you got to be a salesperson to yourself. How many people who are listening to me right now within the last 24 to 48 hours, you have sold yourself on doing something that you initially did not feel like doing? You didn't really feel like working out, but you did work out. You didn't feel like showing up early, but you showed up early anyway. You didn't feel like going to sleep, but you went to bed because you knew you had to get up early the next day, or the alarm clock was going off. You didn't feel like getting out of bed, but you indeed got out of bed. Maybe it was some food that you know is good for you, but you didn't want to eat it, but you ate it anyway, or some food you know was bad for you, you wanted to eat it, but you didn't eat it. How many times have you sold yourself on something in the last 24 to 48 hours? So you're going to be a salesperson all of your life. Even if you're only dealing with you, you have to sell yourself on what you're doing. And anytime you're dealing with another person, you will always have to sell other people, because most people, for the most part, their agenda is not based on what you want and need, it's based on what they want and need. So you will always be in the sales business. You always be doing sales things no matter what you do. Now, actually, what I'm going to be sharing here, this concept I got from an author by the name of George Lois in a book called Damn Good Advice. Now, this book is published by Phaidon Publishers. I think they may be based, I don't know where they're based at. I'm not even don't get me the line of saying where these guys are based at. But these are the same publishers who published one of my favorite books by an author by the name of Paul Arden. The book is called It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. He wrote another one called Whatever You Think the Opposite. And they're these smaller size, like 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches square size books that have a lot of illustrations, and the text is really big. So it's like a lot of big ideas they're sharing with you. It's not like this deep writing that they give, but we all know that some of the best and most profound ideas come from a smaller set of words rather than always necessarily a deeper set of words. So George Lois, I thank him for the inspiration for what we're going to be talking about here today in today's episode. But I also want to make clear, everything I'm talking about is not from him. He just laid out 3 simple things. Those are going to be my 3 points today. And I'm going to elaborate on those things and explain them to you in the Work on Your Game philosophy way. He didn't do the elaboration. I'm doing the elaboration, just so everybody's clear on that. He made it a hot line. I'm going to make it a hot song. So let's get into this point. Today's topic, once again, is where to spend your time in sales. Point number 1, 1% of your time. We're going to break this down out of a whole of 100%, okay? 1% of your time should be spent on inspiration. Getting yourself inspired, motivated, hyped up, mentally activated, whatever language you want to use for that whole thing. All right, getting yourself hyped up to go do what you need to do, inspired. Somebody says something to you, you saw something. Whatever it is that works for you to get you inspired. 1% of your time should be spent on inspiration. Now, the reason why this is an important point is because these days, often when I see people talking about this, or I hear people talking about it, or people even come to me asking about it, or thanking me for it, or mentioning it to me, is that they talk about inspiration, man. You inspired me, you motivated me, you know, put the battery in my back, you got me excited about doing what I need to do. This is an element. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because this inspiration is an element that I find that a lot of people think they need the most of. Out of the three elements we're going to lay out here today, inspiration is the one that people talk about the most, people think they need the most, people think is the most important. This is actually the least important, is the one that you need the least. Because inspiration, all inspiration is a form of excitement, okay? Excitement can be expressed through fear, it can be expressed through anger, it can be expressed through happiness, and inspiration, motivation. Those are all forms of excitement. It's just a heightened sense of being. A heightened sense of being. That's a good way of putting it. Your senses are really on point when you're in this space of inspiration. And excitement is a good thing. Let me be clear, okay? The problem with excitement is that it's inconsistent and it does not always arrive on time. Has anyone listening to this? Have you? Yes, you. No, not them, you. Have you ever felt like there was something you wanted to do, something you knew you needed to do, yet you didn't have the proper inspiration / motivations to do it, and you, instead of actually just going and doing it, which would have been the discipline part, showing up every day to do the work, instead of just going and doing it, you instead went and started seeking out inspiration / motivation that would hopefully subsequently move you to action. Have you ever done that? You knew it was something you needed to do, you knew exactly what it was, you knew exactly how to actually get started and get moving on getting it done, but you didn't really feel like it. But instead of just moving yourself and just doing it anyway, minus the inspiration and motivation, you went and looked for some inspiration / motivation that could possibly help you get there. Have you ever made that mistake? And yes, that is a mistake if you've done it before. I'm gonna help you fix it, don't worry. But have you done that before? I'm sure you have. I know I have done it before. I'm sure you have done it before. Maybe you've done it in doses. Maybe you did it a little bit. It doesn't mean, when I'm laying out for you, it doesn't necessarily mean you didn't do the thing at all. Let's just say, for example, you knew you need to go to the gym and work out, but you didn't feel like going to the gym and working out. So instead of just saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go to the gym and work out anyway, even though I don't feel like it, and I'll act my way into feeling it. Instead, you decided you would feel your way into acting. So you started looking for some inspiration and motivation. Maybe you went and looked up maybe you went on your favorite social media app to see if you could find something motivating or exciting. Maybe you went and watched some video that you downloaded off the internet to get you hyped up and decided to go do your thing. Maybe you just started listening to some music that you think would get you going. Maybe you went and talked to a friend of yours who you think might hype you up. Maybe you just sat around and did nothing, hoping that the inspiration or motivation would come grab you at some moment and you would end up doing your thing. And maybe you ended up going to the gym at some point in that day anyway. Maybe it was 5 minutes later, maybe it was 30 seconds later, maybe it was 3 hours later, but you did eventually go to the gym, right? Whatever it was that got you to eventually go to the gym, we don't know. All right, you can fill in the blank with that. The challenge is, here's the point that I'm pointing out to you, knowing that time is the most valuable resource we have, you used up some of that valuable resource hoping and seeking for inspiration instead of defaulting to the discipline of just doing it anyway. And the reason why that matters is because that 30 minutes or 30 seconds or 3 hours of time that got used up in between the idea, the thought that said, I need to do this thing, and you actually doing that thing, we call that an accountability gap. And I did a whole masterclass on closing your accountability gaps, believe it or not. That's masterclass number 765. Accountability gap is when you tell yourself that something needs to be done, and then you either don't do it at all, or you do it, but you don't do it when it's supposed to be done. You eventually get around to doing it. The gap between when you have the thought of doing something and you actually doing something is what we call an accountability gap. And I'll help you close those again in masterclass number 765. So the challenge with inspiration and motivation is that it doesn't always arrive when you want it to. It arrives every now and then. Everybody here has been inspired and or motivated at some point in our lives, and we probably will be again at some point in our lives. Challenge is it doesn't always come on call. So then what do you do? And I'm gonna tell you what many people do. Maybe I'll be describing you right here. Many people are sitting around right now in life waiting on inspiration to hit them so they can do their thing, whatever that thing is, but the inspiration never happens. The thing never happens either, because they won't do the thing until they're inspired, but the inspiring never happens, so then they never get around to doing the thing. Then they end up dying and taking all of their valuable resources to the most valuable real estate on earth, which we call the graveyard. And I talked about this in masterclass number 468, the graveyard, the most valuable resource, real estate and resource on earth, because it has all the value of all the people who didn't do the thing that they knew they wanted to do, but they never got around to doing it. They end up dying and taking all that unused value, unexpressed value with them to the graveyard, and nobody ever gets to experience it. Maybe you feel like you may be on your way to that right now, because you got some things you've been thinking about doing, writing down, putting on your vision board, getting excited about, or trying to get excited about, but you haven't actually done anything yet. All right, so if you die today, all that value is going to the graveyard with you. This is the truth, right? And people are like, damn, Jerry, you just gonna talk about death like that? Yeah, I mean, we can talk about life, we can talk about death. You can't have one without the other. The inspiration doesn't happen, the thing doesn't happen. So 1% of your time, remember the topic once again, how you should be spending your time when you're in sales. And since everybody's in sales, everyone should remember everything I'm talking about here today. 1% of your time should be spent on inspiration. Point number 2. Today's topic is where to spend your time when you are in the sales business. And since we're all in the sales business, it's for everybody. Number 2, 9% of your time. We still got 99% left to be accounted for, right? 9% of your time should be on perspiration. Perspiration. And y'all know what perspiration is, right? That's when you sweat. Usually you sweat when it's hot, or when you sweat when your body temperature is, don't let me try to explain it scientifically. You sweat when it's hot, all right? It's either hot or your body is working harder than maybe it was expecting, or something to do with the atmospheric temperature. And you sweat usually when you're exerting a lot of energy and your temperature rises, all right? Let's just put it that way. And there's a scientist here who can explain it better. All right, you talk about that on your podcast. But everybody understands perspiration, sweating, hard work, effort, energy, okay? So let's just assume that maybe you got some of that inspiration or motivation, or maybe you didn't, you just had the discipline because you read my book, The Mirror of Motivation, which you can get free at mirrorofmotivation.com while supplies last. Anybody who didn't know, again, it's mirrorofmotivation.com. 9% of your time should be spent on the hard work, the effort, and doing your thing. I did a whole masterclass called Hard Work Ain't Enough, which you can also consume for free. 90-minute masterclass at hardworkaintenough.com. Understand that, yes, 9% of your time should be spent on hard work and effort and doing the thing, whatever it happens to be. But also understand something. You cannot outwork the world. You can't outwork everybody in the world, not all at the same time. Maybe you can outwork a whole bunch of individual people. If you just had a whole bunch of one-on-one hard work matchups, maybe you can win all of them and be undefeated at hard work. But you can't outwork everybody else put together against you. All right, that's impossible. Because everybody else put together, let's say if you were trying to outwork 10 people, maybe each of those 10 people, you could outwork them one-on-one. But if they all put their resources together, they're 24 hours a day, and you only got 24 yourself. They got 240 in a day. I don't care how good you are and how diligent you are. There's no way you're going to outwork 10 people who have 240 total hours to your 24 total. Even if you work the whole 24 without sleeping, if each one of those 10 worked, how many hours would that have to be? 5 hours? Let's say each one of them do 5. All right, they did 50. So they put in 50 hours of work to get 24. They doubled up on you, and each one of them only worked 5 hours. You worked 24. You worked 5 times as much as each one of them individuals, and they still doubled up on you. You cannot outwork the world, ladies and gentlemen. And even if you did, nobody would know about it. So any of you out there who feels like you are hard working, you're doing all the work, you're putting in the effort, you're putting your time in and all those things, yet you still feel like you are not getting the proper ROI from your work. Here's why. Because someone told you that you just need to outwork everybody. Maybe you misconstrued the work on your game slogan to mean that you're supposed to just outwork everybody. Because I never told you to just outwork everybody. Even though the slogan is called work on your game, if you listen to anything that I'm saying, and if you took my Hard Work Ain't Enough masterclass, even if you just listen to the title of it, Hard Work Ain't Enough, you would know better than to think that work on your game just means work, and put out effort and sweat and all this stuff, and all of a sudden everything's gonna happen. That's not the way that it works, ladies and gentlemen. I know somebody told you that. I know maybe you interpreted somebody's message as that is what it is. I know you hear people who have reached whatever we would call success in this society. You ask them how they became successful, almost everybody says, I work really hard. And they're not lying that they work really hard, but they are inaccurate in stating that their hard work is the main reason for their success. It is not. Because if hard work was the main reason for success, there'd be a whole lot different people at the top, whatever you consider the top of whatever profession, industry, work, vocation, etc. Hard work is part of the job, ladies and gentlemen. But hard work is not a special skill. I'm letting that one sink in before I say it again. Hard work is part of the job, but hard work is not a special skill. All right, hard work is not a specialty. All right, if that's the only thing that you got, you're not gonna go too far. If hard work is all you got, all right, you better have something else to go with it. So anyone you can name who you think is really great at what they do, and they always talk about how hard they work, I guarantee you there's some other elements along with hard work that's going into their success that they may or not be either aware of or willing to talk about and admit, but it exists. All right, whether they are aware of it or not doesn't change the fact that it exists. Okay, hard work is part of the job. Many people work really hard in life, yet never get results that come anywhere close to the amount of effort that they're putting in. Does anyone feel like that? I personally worked hard at basketball for a long time, but it wasn't until I made the pros and marketed myself out there in the world of basketball that anybody cared about the fact that I had worked really hard. I put my first video on YouTube, which is where many basketball enthusiasts came to know me from. They didn't actually know me from playing overseas because they ain't been overseas. They weren't watching games overseas. They knew me from YouTube. I didn't put a video on YouTube till I was 23, 24 years old. I started playing basketball more than 10 years before that. So what about all that hard work? If I never put a video on YouTube, would you know who I was? At least in the basketball world, probably not. So the hard work was not the key to my, if you want to call it, success. Most people label success. What most people label success is just the public recognition of what someone has accomplished and achieved. The success is actually doing the thing and being on a journey of achieving what you're achieving. But most people label success as being known. So let's say tomorrow I was on the cover of Forbes magazine or Men's Fitness or Slam magazine or Time magazine, and now 100 times more people know me and they're following me and everybody's talking about me and my name is trending nationally on Twitter. A lot of people would say, damn, Dre, congratulations on your success. A lot of people would start saying that to me. But let's just assume that could happen, but I haven't done anything different tomorrow. Everything I'm doing the same thing today that I was doing 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago. The only thing that changed is just I'm recognized by more people, and most people would see that and say, congratulations on your enhanced or expanded success. But that success is just the recognition. What most people call success is simply recognition. It is not the actual achievement of the success. I think I've done more than one masterclass where I talked about success, and you can check that out in masterclass number 1557, how to speed up success by reducing complexity. And there was a masterclass I called the success personality. That's where I took every letter in success and made it into a mnemonic device, and each letter made it stand for something. I borrowed that concept from someone, I don't remember, I don't have it here in the titles, but that's masterclass number 816, the success personality. But when we talk about success, period, I have actually almost 40 masterclasses where I've talked about success. So I'm not gonna tell you every one of those here, but I will tell you that all you game group members, just go to the tab in the game group members area that says the master list. And all you have to do is use the Command F or Control F function in your browser to find and search, or on your smartphone, and just type in the word success, and it will highlight each of these episodes where I talk about success. So there are a whole lot of them. I'll tell you a few. Number 473, success is faster than failure. Number 462, 4 things that successful people do. Number 408, a sense of urgency, how to develop this key success tool. And you can go and list out the other 30 plus that are inside of the game group membership later on. But again, the whole point that I'm making here is you only want to spend 9% of your time hard work and efforting. All right, you want to do it, but that's not the whole job. That is not the majority of the job. As I just told you, it's only 9% of the job. So what is the big part here? We still got 90% left to account for. Let's get to it. Point number 3. Today's topic is, where do you spend your time when you are in the sales business? The third area in which you spend the majority of your time is justification. 90% of your time, and now we have a full pie of 100, is in justification. And I'm going to explain what that means in a minute. So we had 1% was to inspiration, 9% is in perspiration, so now we're up to 10%, and the final 90% is in justification. Now, what exactly does this mean, justification? Here is where your bread gets buttered, in the justification stage of your work. Justification is another way of saying selling yourself, selling your work. selling your goods and services, getting people to believe not only in what you produce, but to believe in you and the organization or company that you represent. Because if people believe in you and they like your product, but they don't trust your company, they're probably not going to buy anything. Or they don't trust your product, but even though they love you and your company, they're not going to buy anything. Or they love your company, they love your product, but they don't trust you, they're not going to buy anything. So you got to make sure you're knocking down all three of these: the product, the company you represent, and you as a person. If they're not buying any one of those, nothing's happening. Even though you did all the hard work, even though you're super inspired, even though you gave a perfect sales presentation, you got to justify it in the mind of whomever you are buying from, even yourself. You tell yourself, I'm gonna start eating spinach every day like Dre does on his Instagram stories. You still gotta justify that to yourself. You gotta go to the store and buy it. First of all, you gotta justify that purchase. You can spend that $5 on a bag of chips. First of all, you gotta justify that to yourself. Then when you get the spinach into your refrigerator at home, you gotta sell yourself on actually consuming it. Just because you have it doesn't mean you're gonna eat it. Can we agree? How many people here ever had a gym membership and you ain't been using it? You look at that membership and like, damn, I've been paying for this membership for the last 8 months and I've not been to the gym one time. How many of you got things you're paying for you're not even using? You must justify to yourself and to whomever you are aiming to persuade. You must justify in their mind what it is you want them to do or not do or stop doing or start doing. People got to believe not only in what you produce, but also in you as a person. Everybody here has heard of the phrase buyer's remorse, right? What is buyer's remorse? It's when somebody buys something and then later on they're like, maybe I should not have bought that. Or of FOMO. FOMO, F-O-M-O, it stands for the fear of missing out. Any good salesperson knows that they should incorporate some FOMO into anything that they sell, whether they had to manufacture it, whether it's something that's real and tangible, whatever they got to do. You want to get people the fear of missing out, because fear is one of the most powerful drivers of human action. And if you're a salesperson, you need to drive human action. If you give people the fear of missing out, that means that will give them a sense of urgency to actually do what you want them to do, which usually is buying your product or service, or at least trying it. Well, what are these two things, buyer's remorse and FOMO? They are feelings that we made, for whatever reason, the wrong decision, and or that a better choice is still out there that we didn't grab. That's what FOMO and buyer's remorse are. Even though they're two sides of the same coin, but they're kind of opposite of each other, right? Buyer's remorse is you bought, but you shouldn't have. FOMO is you haven't bought, but you should. But both of them are energies, feelings, and fears. They're based in fear that whatever decision we made was not the right one. I bought something I shouldn't have. I didn't buy something I should have. And that there's a better choice out there. The better choice is the opposite. Right? The better choice when you have buyer's remorse is to not buy and get a refund. The better choice when you have FOMO is to buy to make sure you have that product and you don't miss out on all the great benefits that you would get from it. Your job in the justification stage of sales, since 90% of your time will be spent here, let me tell you what your job is. Reselling what you've already sold. That's your job. You're listening to me right now. You're a game group member. Every single day when you listen to this show, this masterclass, I am reselling you on staying in this membership. I'm reselling you on listening to me every day. I'm reselling you on the quality of the material I'm giving you every day. And there's a reason why I mentioned past masterclasses, because I know you have not listened to every masterclass that I've ever put out. I know you haven't. The only person who listens to every one is me. Okay, I'm reselling you on the fact that you have access to all of these. I can't list all 1,600 every day, but you have access to all of them. And if you are not taking advantage of that, let me resell you on the fact that you have access to all of them, and you should take advantage of that. That is your job in the justification stage. Most of it is you're going to be reselling what you've already sold. That's part of it. Some of it's going to be first time selling, but in first time selling, you got to justify things too, right? Any of you who ever took any type of sales training or read a sales book, you know what they say. People decide with emotion, you justify with logic. Justify. You must continue to justify. After you sold something, you got to keep justifying. We're calling it servicing the account. If you have a relationship with somebody, you are always reselling it. All right? Anyone listening to me who is in a intimate relationship, you have a significant other, you are reselling. Every single day, you are reselling that other person on the relationship, and they are reselling you. Hopefully, they're reselling you, and each of you is reselling yourselves on, you know what, I still want to deal with this individual right here. There's always reselling. Any of you who has been in a relationship that is no longer in that particular relationship, Maybe the reselling failed at some point. Maybe you stopped reselling the other person that you're no longer with. Maybe they stopped reselling you. Maybe both of you resold yourselves on that. You know what? Maybe I need to be single again or get out of this situation. The reselling always is happening in relationships, or is not happening, and that can hurt the relationship. When you have a job, you are always reselling. You're reselling your boss that you're a person who should continue to be on the payroll. If you're an entrepreneur, you're reselling your staff that they should keep working for you. All right, if they're any good, they could probably work other places too. Maybe somebody's offering them more money. You must always resell the people who are around you on whatever they're doing if it's contributing to you, because they may change their mind and take that same contribution to give it to somebody else. Sell it to the highest bidder. When you're a consultant, you are always reselling. When people listen to or watch your show, as I already talked about, you are reselling. You are always justifying for other people why they have chosen you. If you got followers on social media, they can unfollow you whenever they feel like it. Every time you post or don't post, you are reselling those followers on continuing to follow you because of whatever value they're going to get from whatever you're posting. You must continually, in the justification stage, emphasize the reasons why you are worth what you are worth. That's justification. Any of you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, life partner, you are always reselling them. You are emphasizing continually the reasons why you are worth what you're worth. This is the game in sales, to not only keep your current sales, but to make future resales and upsells. You sold somebody something already for $1, or you want to sell them the next thing for $5, you better make sure you continually resell them on what they bought for $1, because if they end up having buyer's remorse over the $1 purchase, they'll never make the $5 purchase. See how that works? And let's say somebody comes in on the $5 purchase. They didn't know about the $1 thing. If they love their $5 purchase because you did a great job in justifying it and reselling them, they'll probably say to themselves, what else this guy got for sale? And they'll go buy the $1 product. Maybe they'll buy 10 copies of it. But you must continually emphasize why you're worth what you're worth consistently. Every time you deal with a person, you are continually justifying why it is that they're giving you what they're giving you. Their attention, their time, their money, their energy, their focus. Marketing is justification. If you already heard of a person, yet they keep running ads to you, targeting you, is because they are justifying. They're making sure you remember that they are worth what they're worth, whatever it happens to be. This is the game in all of sales. And everybody is in this game of sales. And if you don't want to be in this game of sales, you're still in it, you're just not good at it. So I would suggest you fix yourself. Let's recap today's class, which is where to spend your time when you are in sales. Since that's all of us, this is a very good topic. Point number 1, 1% inspiration. This is the element that people think they need the most of, but they actually need the least of. Inspiration is simply excitement. Excitement is a good thing. Problem is, it is inconsistent. And if you're waiting on inspiration to do your thing, you may never do your thing. Point number 2, 9% of your time on perspiration. Hardworkaintenough.com. It's a free masterclass where I tell you that you need to do more than hard work. Hard work is important. It is part of the job, but it is not the whole job. Most people think that it's a majority of the job. No, it's only 9% of the job. A lot of people work really hard in life and don't get results. It is not until you have actually sold yourself, or sold the market rather. You gotta sell yourself, but also sell the market on whatever it is you're working hard at. That's when you actually start getting the results. You don't get results just by doing the work. You get results by selling what you have worked on. That's what I talked about in masterclass number 1515. You are a marketer. Point number 3, 90% of your time on justification. Justification is where your bread gets buttered, where you actually get recognized for your hard work, where you become a quote unquote success because now people know about it. What most people consider success is just public recognition. It is not the actual achievement, it's public recognition of an achievement. You ever heard of buyer's remorse or FOMO? Both of those are feelings that someone has made the wrong decision or that a better choice is available that we didn't take. Your job in the justification process is reselling what you have sold. A relationship, a job, when you're a consultant, when people consume your show, you are always justifying for them why they have chosen you. This is the game in sales, not only to keep your current sales, but also for your ability or an opportunity to make future sales. If you want to learn more about selling, make sure you read my book called The Seller's Mindset. You can get that at workonmygame.com/sell, SELL, workonmygame.com/sell. The Seller's Mindset. Work on your game. Dre all day.